She said to all the
Check, check 1 2. Check 1 2. Good. Check 1 2. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. There it goes.
I was I got lost.
last reminder, we want to get everybody settled, but there are handouts at the back of the room and town reports to follow the warrant today with voting, and also handouts for the different articles that we're going to be addressing today. Non-residents, please be seated on the sides of the walls in the room here, and all resident voters need to be sitting in the middle of the room. In the name of state of Maine, you, the inhabitants, have been requested and notified to meet at Emerson Hall in Castine, Maine on this 7th day of June 2025 to act on the following articles to wit. Article number 1, to choose a moderator to act at this meeting. Do I hear a nomination for moderator for today? Yes? Nomination for Robin Moss. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do I hear any other nominations? Do I hear a motion to close the nominations? Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor for closing the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I declare the nominations closed. All in favor for Robin Moss to be moderator this morning, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. As in our custom, we need 5 written ballots to approve the moderator. Can I have 5 residents come forward and vote? I declare Robin Moss to be moderator at this meeting. Robin?
There are a few empty chairs up front. I'm seeing a couple slotted ones, so if you need a seat, please find one.
I, Robin D. Moss, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall. I, Robin D. Moss, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I, Robin D. Moss, do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability the duties incumbent on me as moderator of this meeting, according to the Constitution and the laws of the state, so help me God.
I now turn the meeting over to Robin.
As is our custom, all those who are able, please stand, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now address a few questions. Unless you are an emergency response person, please turn all pages and cell phones to vibrate or off. Please be aware that non-voters should sit only in the chairs on the side walls, and voters should sit only in the chairs in front of them. Please be aware that non-voters must first be approved to speak at this meeting. Accordingly, we will now decide whether to allow certain town officials and consultants who are non-voters to speak at this meeting. Is there a motion to allow the following individuals to speak at this meeting? Derek Castine, Town Manager. Karen Modica, Town Treasurer and Finance Officer. Fred Cole, school principal, Derek Perkins, school superintendent, and Nick Berry of the library.
I so move.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will, the town has voted unanimously to allow Derek Dean, Karen Monica, Fred Cole, Derek Perkins, and Nick Berry to speak at the meeting. As is our practice, we will be guided by the main moderator, Randy. Now I'd like to give you some guidance on how I will be conducting this meeting. First, as required by law, please wait to be recognized for the meeting before speaking. This includes a motion to call the question. Please try to keep your comments as brief as possible. Please do not read from any document except the warrant without first obtaining my consent. Any written statement should be kept as brief as possible. During normal voice votes, please do not shout your answer. That will only cause a delay if I cannot determine a clear outcome, and then we will have to vote again, and that vote will be by counting a show of hands. And please remember that non-voters may not make motions and may not vote. All articles containing a dollar amount require a motion that proposes a specific amount for approval. Any article that includes a dollar amount or any borrowing by the town may not be included in a block vote. Please remember that any warrant article relating to town ordinances may not be amended by the meeting pursuant to main law. Please help in making motions so that one person does not bear the burden of making all motions for the entire meeting. Finally, keep in mind that the purpose of town meeting procedures is to facilitate the transaction of the business contained in the articles in the warrant and to promote cooperation, harmony, courtesy, justice, and fairness. To achieve those goals, all voters in attendance have equal rights, privileges, and obligations. And while the majority has the right to decide most questions, the minority also has rights to be protected foremost, which is the right to be heard, so that full and free discussion of every motion is a fundamental right. We will now move to consider the articles. But first, do I have unanimous consent to waive reading of the tables in the warrant articles? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Town has voted unanimously to waive reading the tables. Thank you. Article 2. Shall the town authorize any non-voter Castine property owner to speak at this meeting when recognized by the moderator? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will move on to the next article. To see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for.
You have to, the motion is made in second, but they have to approve it.
Which one?
The second one, the non-resident voters.
Oh, is there a motion for article number 2? Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 2. Article 3, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for system administration. School board services, office of the superintendent services. School committee recommends $91,627.74. Is there a motion?
So moved, $91,627.74.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 3, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 3. Article 4, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for transportation and buses. School committee recommends $125,211.39. Is there a motion?
Move $125,211.39. $211.39.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
I would like to know what the additional purchase transport services for $55,000 for.
Could you please state your name?
My name is Charles Hodgkins.
Okay.
Yeah. I need a mic today, my voice is fading. So the $55,000 is a requirement based on student with special needs. This was a piece that we didn't budget for last year. We didn't have the need last year, but last September, this became something that we were required to pay for. So we've been paying for it this current budget cycle as is. My apologies, hopefully that wasn't me. So yeah, so it's a required piece by federal law. So thank you. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 4 in the amount of $125,211.39, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 4. Article 5, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for regular instruction, elementary instruction program, secondary instruction program, alternative education, English as a second language, gifted and talented. The school committee recommends $1,172,224.08. Is there a motion? Is there the,
So moved, $1,172,000.
and you are, sir?
I'm sorry, those for the vote.
Okay,
$1,172,224.08.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just for the vote.
Joe Spinazzola, thank you.
The secondary tuition, Georgetown, I know we've been paying them extra money every year, but that's still going on, and so how much?
You want to take that? So in this cost center, I'll kind of explain. So the insured value factor is for all private secondary high schools in the state of Maine. That has increased to 10%. It's been 6% for the last several years. As far as the supplemental tuition, that's a later warrant article. And that amount, at least the last 3 years, it's been $1,700, and it remains that way this year.
So, I mean, it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to get to a student deduction fund. You know, I feel for them, but they were making $1 million a year off exchange students. They didn't give us a discount. And now they don't have that income, they expect us to make it up. And that's not fair, that's not the taxpayer's responsibility. How many students do we have at GSA?
Karen?
Joe, I just want to say that additional money is not in this article. That additional money is in Article 17, so that would be taken up then, so we want to wait until then to talk about it.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Is there any other discussion? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 5 in the amount of $1,172,224.08, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 5. Article 6, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for student and staff support, guidance counselors, guidance services, health services, library services, instructional technology, instructional staff, training and curriculum development. School committee recommends $62,330.13. Is there a discussion?
We need a motion, don't we? We need to have a motion on it, don't we?
Is there a motion for Article 6? in the amount of-
$62,330.13.
And you are, sir?
or no.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 6 in the amount of $62,330.13, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 6. Article 7, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for school administration. School committee recommends $203,246.00.
So move for 203,000.
Excuse me, is there a discussion?
We have not got the motion first.
Okay,
So move for 203,246.
Second.
is there, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Robin?
Yeah.
You need to call for a second after the motion's been made, then go to discussion.
I thought there was a second.
I have the second.
There was a second. Sorry, my bad. Okay, go to discussion.
Okay, there was a second, so
Got it.
all those in favor of Article, is there discussion? No further? Yes, sir. Please state your name.
David Watts. I just wonder, we went from 0 to 1,200 for a miscellaneous stipend. What's the miscellaneous stipend?
Often in administrative contracts, across our school union, we have cell phone stipends, because oftentimes we ask our principals, we want our principals available, just like me, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's to kind of help ease him using his personal cell phone.
This is paid for,
I couldn't hear you, sir.
paid for their cell phone use?
Yes, it's the reimbursement for their cell phone. And I will add, it's cheaper than us buying them a cell phone.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 7 in the amount of $203,246, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, the town has voted by majority vote in favor of Article 7. Article 8, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for facilities maintenance, /custodial, capital enhancement and improvement, capital renewal and renovation. School committee recommends $162,159.69. Is there a discussion?
So so move for $162,159.69.
Is there a second?
Second.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor of Article 8?
Is there discussion?
Rob, we have a discussion, you asked that question, we have a discussion or not?
Is there discussion?
Just for the dog.
Okay, what's your,
So your custodial wages are gone from 47 to 54, it's about 27 bucks an hour for custodian. And at the same time, I know, if you lay on the warrant, you pay this special tax like that, it would, $21 an hour. So how does that all wash?
I couldn't hear the second part of your question, but I'll answer the first part.
Well,
So-
let me finish the question.
Yeah.
It's, you have a head tech has a full degree, college degree, she's making $21 an hour. When you pay a custodian $27 an hour. I mean, how does that all balance out?
Yeah, so with our current, and I wouldn't even view him as a custodian, he's a head of maintenance. He has a background in art history. Also, something we normally put in the budgets as a separate item was lawn service. He does that as part of his job description. And really the difference between last year and this year is we had a custodian that resigned over the summer. We get a talented individual, and it made sense to pay him accordingly. And it's been very helpful in terms of some of the needs that we had in the building. We had an engineering firm give us some recommendations on improving the structure of the building. He was able to assist a local contractor, and we were able to make those repairs, and we were able to save a considerable amount of money.
Is there any further discussion? There being no further discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 8 in the amount of $162,159.69. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 8. Article 9, to see what sums town will authorize the school committee to expend for special education programs and administration. School committee recommends $218,879.31.
So moved for $218,800.
Is there a discussion?
Motion, so moved for $218,879.31.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of school committee Article 9 in the amount of $218,879.31, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 9. Article 10, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for other instruction, co-curricular, extracurricular, and summer school. School committee recommends $22,842.23.
So moved for $22,842.23.
Is there discussion?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no further discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 10 in the amount of $22,843.23, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 10. Article 11, to see what sum the town will authorize the school committee to expend for all other expenditures, including the food service program, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the food service program. School committee recommends $39,321.49.
So moved for $39,321.49.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no further discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 11 in the amount of $39,321.49, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voted unanimously in favor of Article 11. Article 12, to see what sum the town will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the town will raise as the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, in accordance with the main revised statute Title 20A, Section 15688. School committee recommends that $954,983.29 be appropriated and raised, and $860,529.04 be raised. State mandated explanation. The town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that a municipality must raise in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. Is,
So moved, the school committee recommendation is $954,983.29 be appropriated, and $860,529.04 be raised.
Second.
is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voted unanimously in favor of Article 12. Article 13, to be voted by written ballot, to see what sum the town will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. School committee recommends $1,097,955.74 for additional local funds and gives the following reason for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by $1,097,955.74 in order to maintain current educational programs and offerings. State mandated explanation. The additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the town's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the Castine Public Schools budget for educational programs.
So moved, $1,097,955.74.
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no further discussion, we will proceed to vote. This is by written ballot. So we'll start with that. If people could come up and get a ballot.
We're gonna have one person on either side, so the voters will walk on the side, get your ballot, come over, put it in the box, and then go back down the middle and back to your seat.
Thank you.
Yes.
Accessible to every voter.
Yeah, actually, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Jan. Good, thanks. Good morning.
used to be.
Back there, yes, really apologize. No, I'm trying.
Well, and we can get them up to the microphone, so we'll do that. Thank you. Oh. Andy, working on something.
Is there anyone else who has not voted?
Robin, did you vote?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Natalie.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. Technology, it's great when it works.
Well, and there's the projects that run on the street. And that's where I thought. But I think it's right. So I don't know who to ask.
We have the results of the voting, and they are as follows: 108 yes, 3 no. We'll now move on to Article 14. To see what sum the town will authorize school committee to expend for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30, 2026, from the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, local funds for debt service on non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidies, and other receipts for support of schools. School committee recommends $2,997,842.06.
So moved for $2,097,842.06.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 14 in the amount of $2,097,842.06, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Count as voted unanimously in favor of Article 14. Article 15, in addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school committee be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other services during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, and other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 15, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Count as voted unanimously in favor of Article 15. Article 16, shall the town vote to appropriate the sum of $25,000 from the school department unassigned fund balance to be transferred to the Adams School Capital Improvement Reserve Account for the purpose of funding future facility improvements and maintenance. School committee recommends $25,000.
So moved for $25,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 16 in the amount of 25,000, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 16. Article 17, to be voted by written ballot. Shall the town commit to pay an extra $1,700 in tuition for each Castine student attending George Stevens Academy for the 2025-2026 school year? And shall the town raise and appropriate $32,300 in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model for that purpose? School committee gives the following reason for exceeding the state essential programs and services funding model by $32,300. In order to pay a tuition charge above the amount otherwise allowable by Title 20A, Section 5806, state mandated explanation. The additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the town's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service, and that will help achieve the Castine Public Schools budget for additional programs. Note, if the town approves this article, the amount will be added to the appropriate school operating budget. Articles 3 through 14. This is a written ballot, and we'll have the same procedure as before.
So moved, $32,300.
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, sir. Would you please
So
state
I have a
your name?
question, my name is Charles
Could
Patrick.
you come over here, please, and
Sure.
speak into the microphone?
I'm not sure I need the microphone.
That's what you.
I know. Right, my name is Charles Patrick. I have a question. What do we pay other high schools in comparison to George Stevens Academy?
So for other high schools, we pay the state set tuition rate. If it's a private high school, we're required to pay the IBF. This request, I just want to clarify, I think, some misconceptions that I'm feeling. This isn't a request that I bring to you as something that I'm either for or against. GSA reaches out. This year, we had asked GSA to reach out to the towns to make the request specifically to the towns. Based on when you have your town elections in November, it makes it difficult to make this like a referendum type vote. So it, procedurally it gets placed under the school portion. So this is, they're asking just for, obviously I think we're all clear, they're asking for additional funds beyond state mandated tuition and the insured value factor. So that's, I will kind of throw it out to you. It's up to you what you feel is best for your town in regards to that. I don't have a position on it. I feel we send kids to a wide variety of different high schools. They're one of the options. There probably are, on the peninsula, one of the more popular options. Location, tradition, all those components. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's.
Well, that's what it does, other than the fact that I'm just wondering why we're being preferential to George Stevens as compared to other high schools that we fund.
Yeah, that's a question that predates me. I'm wrapping up my second year. This was something that was already happening for, I want to say, at least 5 years, and if I'm incorrect on that.
5 years.
Has it been, yeah?
2 or 3.
Fourth year, okay, so, yeah. So, it predates me. I'm just in the position and working with the town of Castine. This is procedurally what they want me to do, share the number of kids that we anticipate are gonna go to GSA. Those of you that have had 14 to 18-year-olds, that's a pretty unpredictable age range. I have one myself, and we live in a town where we have some school choice. It fluctuates. One day it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Bangor, next day I'm gonna go to John Bass. So it does fluctuate.
Mr. Spinizzola, do you have an additional question? Please come over here.
What is the state tuition rate right now?
Oh,
Approximately, what is that?
yes.
$10,000.
So you're gonna love the state of Maine. Obviously, we're putting budgets for the next year, really going in blind with what high school tuition rates are going to be. So I have to kind of forecast, like, all right, in the last 5 years, what's the average increase for high school tuition? So for GSA, we have it at this point right around $14,645. That's roughly about a 5% increase compared to last year. And again, it is a true guesstimate because the state of Maine sets that rate in December.
Right.
So it's
So,
not the greatest timing. I wish they'd help us out and do it a little sooner, but
so there's that 14,000, that includes the 10%.
no, that's just straight tuition.
So they're getting 14,000.
Yep.
Then they get the insured value factor, which any private school in Maine gets.
Yep.
For an extra 10%, which is another $1,400 per student. And now they want another $1,700 per student on top of that. And that's the taxpayer, it's not the taxpayer's job to pay for this. John Bass for years has been charging fees to parents to recoup that extra money, they want extra money. And it is not our responsibility, to pay for George Stevens' financial problems. They're a good school, and against them, it's just a matter of, we can't afford to do this, and we should be doing it, and, if the other schools, private schools really got wind of this, they come back and see the hell out and go, no, you're gonna pay us an extra $1,700 per student too. I go to John Bass, I go to the academy, and whatever else instead. So, it's a bad precedent, I've never liked it from the beginning, and that's how I feel about it, that's what I want.
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name when you come up here.
Go to the microphone.
Okay.
My name is Hillary Van Johnson. I'm here to say that I support this article wholeheartedly. So if we look at the amount that we pay per student for the 50 or so students that go to Adams School, it far exceeds the appropriation that they are asking for our students. So I believe that we should support this amount. And further, I would also agree that if the other private schools came and asked for the 1,700, I'd support that as well. It's a very cheap option for us compared to creating our own public high school for our students.
Yes, ma'am. Please. What?
I wanted to ask a question, clarify my question. My name is Casey Bernard. Casey Bernard, local mom of a GSA student. I just want to clarify, if we vote no, the families will have to pay.
So I'm just pulling this out of, talking with other area superintendents, because I know Portland, voted this, down, I think a couple years ago. And my understanding is the $1,700 did fall on, as kind of similar to what John Bass does with the fees, it did fall on the parents to pay that amount.
I just wanted to point out, we have a few families here that have, I think, more than one student, so we would be putting on a burden on those families. And we chose GSA because our kid is who never liked school, loves school. He shows up half an hour early to get GSA. And GSA has a lot of really great programs that I think are important to do in the future, to have kids here on the peninsula who are educated in welding, auto shop, like all kinds of things. A lot of the kids who go to GSA beyond Castine are kids who stay on the peninsula and provide services that you need.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Debbie Montenegro. I just have a question, and again, I don't want this to sound like an aspersions. I have a general question. We are all well versed, whether you're for or against this, on the financial difficulties that George Stevens Academy had for several years. So my question is this: is this extra money helping to plug the holes that were created by the opacity and the financial mismanagement? So is the town of Castine and the communities still being asked to fill budget holes so that GSA can continue? I'm not saying yea or nay against it, I just want some clarification on that, because it's a little murky last year. I didn't feel like we got a lot of our questions answered on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that's a question for representatives from GSA.
Is there anybody here?
Yeah, I have no idea, I can't answer that.
The point of inquiry, could the chair ask if there's a representative of GSA present?
Is there anyone here from GSA? Excuse me?
My name is Tony Paulton, I'm a board member, but I'm not a principal, I'm not this head of school. Head of school's not here.
And one thing I want to clarify, just on that point, Union 93 does not have any controlling stake in GSA. They are one of the high school options where our kids choose to go to. We tuition kids to that school. I don't have any sort of power or position over at GSA. I try to have a cordial relationship with the leadership there. I do talk with Dan Welch frequently, but I can't speak to the true budgetary numbers and some of those pieces. I know last year, just from pulling this from last town meetings, they ended the year with a surplus with their budget. So that's an encouraging sign. I know they had to pare down quite a bit. I don't want to speak on their current situation because I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to fill people with false narratives that aren't true.
Yes, sir? Please come over here.
David Ross. There's no, we spent $1,700 for a private school where nobody knows if the education's any better. We do know, or I know anyway, that the special education is not as good at GSA because they're not state mandated. If a kid goes to Bucksport or Bangor, state mandates certain requirements for their IEP. They don't have that rule for private school. And so, as a student going to George Stevens, gets whatever they want to apply. I'm not convinced at all that education is any better at George Stevens than it would be at Bucksport or Bangor or any of the other schools. So I don't think we should pay it extra.
Yes, sir? Yes.
Morning, everybody. I'm Jim Bernard, the lesser half of the marriage with Casey Bernard. So I certainly appreciate her comments and of course my husband. I have one data point, and one data point a trend does not make. So take it for what it's worth. But I am 100% secure that is inadequate and does not offer the best, or the best education for certain students. My son attends GSA, as Casey mentioned. GSA is the only solution that would work for him. Bucksport would have been an absolute disaster. Now, that's not to say that Bucksport is not a good opportunity or venue for a lot of other students, but speaking as a single parent, what GSA offers, including the IEP resources that are available, are the only solution that we would have that allows us to move Castine. So the idea that somehow Bucksport and GSA are equivalent is completely inaccurate. Different students have different needs. GSA met our family's needs. Bucksport probably meets the needs of a great many other students, so I'm not disparaging Bucksport in any way. But it is 100% false to say that GSA doesn't offer a certain set of services and a learning environment that is not more appropriate to certain individuals than other options are available on the peninsula. Thank you.
Excuse me. May I speak? Johanna Barrett.
Good morning. I am Johanna Barrett. I'm the current chair of the school committee. I wanted to step back first of all and thank all of the townspeople and taxpayers for funding pre-K through grade 12 education here in the town of Castine. Your funding supports the Adams School. It supports the 28 students we will be sending to high school and the 48 students we have at the Adams School. It supports our principal, Fred Cole. It supports our superintendent and all of the staff. So thank you very, very much. Regarding GSA, we want to be very clear that the ask for the additional funds comes from GSA, not from us. Many of you know that as a sending town, we are mandated to pay for the high school education of students in this town. Those students have a choice to go to the school that best fits their needs. Currently, 11 of our students have chosen GSA because it best fits their needs. The other 17 students have chosen other schools because they best fit their needs. The issue from our perspective is not around the quality of education at any of these schools. Every student has chosen their best fit. The issue is that we are not in a position to make a decision about expending public money on one private school over all the others. The difference between a public and a private education is that a private education, you have to pay for yourself. The decision to expend those funds rests with you as taxpayers and not with us as the school board. Our responsibility is to all of our students. We believe that we have a responsibility to provide equality of opportunity, and we also have a responsibility to you as taxpayers. About 92% of our school budget comes from you. We do not get an enormous amount of money from the state or the federal government. The one last point I want to make about George Stevens Academy, we do fund 100% of special education services for the students who do choose George Stevens Academy. That is a separate cost, separate from the $1,700 that we're talking about, separate from the IVF funding that 10% that all private high schools receive. Thank you again for your support of education in Castine.
Mr. Politano, did you have a comment?
All the way to the back. Sneak out. I could use my Jersey voice, or I could use my. I'll use the microphone. I think all of you know me, most of you know me, Tony Politano, resident here for 15 years. Proud parent of a GSA graduate who, for those who don't know, Tony just graduated from college 2 weeks ago. Seriously, just like Johanna said and others have said, this isn't about the education. And I request, I agree with anybody who has any doubts about GSA and the education that's there. Present empirical evidence for things where the special education is not good enough, or that we don't budget enough for that. You know, our budget is wide open. Bobby Vaughn is part of our budget review committee, where we share all that information with the towns through that committee, all the way down to the level, minutiae level, except for what is the salary of a particular person. So all the details are there in that. So let's put that to rest, and let's just talk about $1,700. Two numbers for you. $2.37. 8 cents. Those two numbers represent the cost per taxpayer per month and per day over the next year to support George Stevens financially during this time for the existing students that are there. To address the $1,700, $1,700 has been out there for a number of years as George Stevens has gone through a transition. I think all of you know that there's a large dependence on the boarding program. There's been a drastic change in boarding program. There's also been a drastic change in demographics on the peninsula. There are just less students going to high school. So even if the same amount of kids chose GSA, there would just be less, so we needed to make some adjustments to that. So, you know, and one of the data point, all the other towns have already approved this. We're kind of late in the season with what we're doing. So, you know, we're kind of the last holdout for this year. So we really ask for your support of that 8 cents a day to kind of keep the school going.
Yes, ma'am, back there? Okay, the question has been called. Second. Okay, well, now we will proceed to vote by written ballot. Same procedure. The question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The question has been unanimously called. Thank you.
We're gonna do this the same way we did it before. Natalie will be on that
Thank you.
Sandra's excited to have you on Monday.
I'm looking forward to it.
First day to see where you are.
Where are the kids going? Who are the kids that are going? Yeah, but which ones?
7th and 8th.
Very cool. That's what you're taking.
Controversy and the
Is there anyone who has not voted yet?
Did you vote? Okay.
I know. I'm making it's
Okay, while we have a second, I just wanted to thank you all for coming out this morning. And I wanted to make a quick announcement. We do have a traffic calming slogan contest going on in town. The ballots are in the back of the room. If you didn't pick one up, please do. Fill it out and put it back in the box when you leave. And if you know someone who didn't get one, there'll probably be some extras in town hall for the next week, and select board will make the announcement of the top 3 slogans on the June 16th select board meeting. So just wanted to thank you for being here again, and please fill out your ballot.
We have the results of the voting on Article 17. Yes, 92, no, 29. We're going to take a 10-minute recess and then return to the town hall.
She wanted to make it short.
I think we're ready to begin. Article 18, will town vote to authorize the select board to accept and expend state and federal grant funds and other revenues received during the July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026 fiscal year. And then there are possible revenue sources, state municipal revenue sharing, 136,000, state road assistance, 15,000, other state assistance, 8,000, Homestead Act reimbursements, 36,000. So is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 18, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Did I hear a nay? Oh, okay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 18. Article 19, to see what sum not to exceed $727,350 the town will vote to raise and appropriate the general government account. The select board recommends $727,350.
Move $727,350.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 19, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 19. Article 20, to see what sum not to exceed $346,367 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the library account. The library trustees and select board recommend $346,367. From the library investment fund, $344,007. From library fees and donations, $2,360. Is there, yes, ma'am. Sheila Corbett.
I move the $346,067 amount to be raised.
Second.
Is there discussion? Roberta.
I would just like to thank the library board.
I don't hear that.
Is it time? No? We better? Maybe right here? No, wait, sorry. Okay, is this better?
Yes.
I would just, the select board would like to thank the library board for generously paying for their entire budget this year. None of this money is coming from taxes. This is all coming from the library's endowment. So thank you all so very much.
Is there discussion? Being none. If there being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 20. Article 21, to see what sum not to exceed $670,739 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the public safety account. Select board recommends $670,339. Is there a motion?
I so move the Charles Hopkins in the amount of this, Article 21, in the amount of $670,739.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 21, in the amount of $607,739. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 21. Article 22, to see what sum not to exceed $378,367 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the public works account. The select board recommends $378,367 from taxation, $178,367 automobile excise tax, $200,000.
I move that the town raise $378,367 for the public works account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
This is a moot point. I realize that, has the town written into ordinances to make sure that vehicles are maintained on a regular basis?
I'm sorry, you need to come over here, because I don't think anybody can hear you.
What I'd like to know is, has the selectmen decided to write into the ordinance that vehicles owned by the town are to be maintained on a regular basis? Because if they're not, they get junked, and it's not worth buying them.
I would say no, but in every town I've ever had, that was a policy that we had, was to make sure that we were regularly scheduling maintenance on all the vehicles. So,
In fact, when I was on the utility board for about 16 years, we wrote it into that ordinance. And I was hoping that the town would do that.
we have not, at least at this point, that I can tell you that, Joe and I have had discussions about making sure that all the trucks are regularly maintained, and I would expect all town equipment to be operating in that fashion and making sure to have necessary repairs and maintenance to them. It's a safety issue for the employees also, so.
Right, but will the town commit to writing that in the ordinances? Because until it's done, it's only going to be a per manager, yes.
That would be a question for the three people next to me.
Yeah. Okay.
We will definitely discuss it and try to come up with a policy.
Excellent. You're a good diplomat.
I will say that I think, thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I think just our little banter here, we were unaware of what you had done on the utility board, and that's a issue. So I think it's,
Yeah, we
I'm glad
saw
you brought that
that.
up, and we have to discuss it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any further discussion? If not, may I have a motion? We have a motion. Okay. There's no further discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 22, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 22. Article 23, to see what sum not to exceed $56,650 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the unclassified account. The select board recommends $56,650 from taxation. Yes, sir.
I move that we,
Could you please state your name?
Charles Hodgkins.
Thank you.
I move that we agree to raise the amount not to exceed $6,650 for the unclassified account.
Okay.
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 23, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Council vote unanimously in favor of Article 23. Article 24, see what sum not to exceed $22,600 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for reserve accounts. The select board recommends $22,600. From taxation, $22,000. From harbor fees, $600. Motion, is there?
Yeah, Charles Hutchins, I move that we appropriate not to exceed $22,600 for the reserve accounts.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 24, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. Council vote unanimously in favor of Article 24. Article 25, to see what sum not to exceed $50,000 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the fire truck reserve account. The select board recommends $50,000 from taxation.
Is the $50,000 for the fire truck reserve?
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
Charles Hodgkins, my only question is, are we going to increase this to take into account of inflation and the increasing costs of fire apparatus for the future? I recognize not now.
Thanks, Charles. I can say that this right now is an increase from what has historically been set aside by the town. We've had a history of setting aside $10,000 into this reserve account, and as a select board, we decided that it was time to start making larger commitments because we currently have 3 apparatus at the fire department that are aging gracefully, but yet aging. And I do want to, I think, we owe a lot of credit to our fire department personnel who keep those trucks in good condition and address, the age and the wear on those vehicles. So we've moved and made this recommendation for $50,000, and I think we'll need to keep our eye on costs. I don't know if the town will ever be in a position to outright buy a fire department vehicle in cash, but the more commitment that we make in terms of savings and setting money aside may make us look more favorable for grant opportunities, and then hopefully also in terms of a bond, maybe have to bond out less because we have those 3 apparatus looking at us for replacement.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion, further discussion, questions? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 25, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voted unanimously in favor of Article 25. Article 26, to see what sum not to exceed $400,000 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for fire rescue building reserve account. The select board recommends $400,000 from taxation, $200,000 from surplus, $200,000. Yes, sir.
Charles Hodgkins, I move that we approve the select board recommendation of $400,000 for Article 26.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. Oh, sorry. Didn't see.
Hello, folks. I appreciate you indulging me a second time this morning. I'll be voting to build a fire station, or at least one of the initial stages of planning a fire station on net, starting out. And I offer that perspective from a couple of different viewpoints. The first is as a community member who needed the fire department under some really, really challenging circumstances. In fact, the greatest or the hardest circumstances I've faced. It shouldn't be too hard, because it should be very obvious for any residents of the town of Castine walking by the fire station to notice that the building is wholly inadequate. As it stands today, we have no permanent solution are housing all of the equipment that we depend on, including some of the equipment that I depend on at various times. The second perspective I'd like to offer is that of the only EMT living off net who works in Castine full-time. I can tell you, in order for me to serve us, I depend on people on net to bring me the life-saving equipment that I need to use in order to help people in town. Whether it's Justin Cooper, who can get to the station in a minute, whether it's the students at MMA during the academic term, who can get to the equipment far faster than I ever could, that facility needs to be on net. There is no case to be made that I can provide the level of service that this community deserves without having those resources located on net. Thirdly, I'd like to offer the perspective of a recovering construction company CFO. We have two choices. We can begin this process now and spend the money that's required, or we can spend more later. There's no choice. Costs go up. Everybody understands that. Since I've been part of this community, we have seen costs go up. If we don't build it on net, our insurance costs are going to go up. Building costs are going to go up. We only have two choices. Spend it now or spend it later. So I will offer, now is the time to build a new fire station on net.
Okay, hang on. Gus, come up here, please.
Good morning. In the year 2016, town meeting just like this, the people you managed to be, can you hear me?
No, hold it up your mouth.
How's it? Okay. Good morning. My name is Castine. In the year 2016, the town meeting just like this, the town voted to build a rescue fire station off net, because it would alleviate congestion in downtown Brighton and would provide speed access to fire. And it would pass over. If you look at the budget, every year for the past 16 years, it would put $10,000 to $15,000 for fire rescue for that. I'm not opposed to a new fire station. I believe wholeheartedly in a new fire station. But do it this way, so fun, to say $400,000 and for the Democratic vote, they're saying now that our democracy doesn't work anymore. Just take it away by doing something as ridiculous as this. $400,000 to something that you know you're not going to vote. I'm very, very, very upset. Okay? Now, this pension, that you're afraid his insurance is going to go up. Well, right now, off that, there are 34 homes, plus one under construction, and many, many house lots and houses to be built on. And we're now paying double insurance because we're more than 5 miles from our fire station. So, we want to build a fire station on land that already is contaminated.
Excuse me, Mr. Basile, this article does not include the location, so.
The original article.
No, I'm just saying that this article does not include the location of where that will happen.
I'm trying to explain to you. Last year, it was said, when this was first addressed between we were talking about the off-net fire.
Thank you for your comments, but this article does
I don't know
not.
what you need.
This article does not include location.
I know it doesn't. I'm just saying they changed it, so I'm asking.
Robin?
This article, I don't believe that the town has ever voted on the location where the new station will be located. We are currently looking at locations. This article right here is just asking if the town will put $400,000 into the reserve account. At a later point in time, when the location is found and we have adequate design for it, that will be when the town will have to vote on the location, the design, and borrowing for it. This is simply putting money into the account for a fire station somewhere.
I understand that fully. It was 2 days ago that I talked to you on town report. You can see the town report. It does talk about fire station to be done with.
Yes, I disagree.
Ms. Corbett, I would like to put this issue to rest because it keeps coming up every year. I think many people don't remember 2016. If it's the same year that I recall, it was not a vote about building a satellite fire department. It was a vote to save $10,000 every year towards the construction of the satellite fire department, which, you know, the talk was it would be located at the transfer site. But it was all talk, and it never gelled. So we are now in conversations about replacing a fire department that apparently is not to standards, and that's putting it mildly. So I just want to encourage everyone to get on the current page and not revisit 2016, please.
Move to call the question.
Sir, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to point out that you let the first speaker, Mr. Bernard.
Please come over here. You can't hear.
I just want to point out that you let the first speaker, Mr. Bernard, lobby at length for a location, that being on there. And so just be consistent in the future.
Good call the question.
Oh, hang on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't worry. And I just wanted to bring up, it is, to Gus's point, Article 46, to see what sum not to exceed $15,000 the town will raise and appropriate for a dry hydrant on the shore road, is there to help alleviate the insurance costs of those taxpayers who live further than 5 miles from the fire station. So I just wanted to make that clear. But this, yeah, this one is just, will we save the money? Will we have the money?
Can I add one thing?
Hang on.
I don't really need the microphone. I don't think my voice projects pretty good on its own, but I'll use it anyways. I'm going to tell you something. It's unofficial right now, but sitting in Washington right now, it's going to the Appropriations Committee, is going to be $2.5 million for a fire station. And we will be, Senator King has put it in as one of his, so now it's in Senator Collins' lap. So next week, we'll be putting out a form letter type thing, and I would encourage you all to take some time and actually write a letter to Senator Collins encouraging her to support this in the appropriations bill for the town of Castine for a new fire station.
Yes, ma'am. Please come up.
realize that this does not talk about location, but I have to concur with some of the comments. We have been talking about this issue ad nauseam. And in this particular warrant, I agree that we need to call the vote. But I also think that as a community, no one, not every single person in a community is ever going to be 100% happy. But we have to look at the bigger picture as to what is going to benefit the community as a whole. And I worked in state government in Massachusetts where we dealt with fire stations because of public funding. And it is true, the costs are doubling year on year. And we're not even talking about a fire station. We also have to think about the equipment that is way past its sell-by date time. So I want to call this to vote. And I think as a community, we have got to stop the NIMBYism and think of the larger picture. We need a new fire station. We need new fire equipment because that is what's going to protect all of us. So I hope in the future we can move this along rather than every year we're revisiting the same issues. We need new fire station and equipment. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Call the question.
Second.
Question has been
Who called the question?
What was the person that called the question? Who just did it there?
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, signify by saying nay. Town vote unanimously in favor of Article 26.
No.
Oh, to call the question. So, all those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is approved to call the question. Now that Article 26, in the sum of 400,000. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 26. Article 27, to see what sum not to exceed $459,019 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for debt service. Select Board recommends $459,019 from taxation, $419,019 from Maine Maritime Academy contribution, $40,000.
I make a motion that we raise funds not to exceed $459,019 for debt service.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no big discussion, please, all those in favor of Article 27, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 27. Article 28, to see what sum not to exceed $70,000 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the contingency account. Select Board recommends $70,000 from taxation.
Move to approve, item 28 for $70,000 contingency.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 28 in the amount of $70,000, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 28. Article 29, to see what sum not to exceed $213,393 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for tax payment to Hancock County. Select Board recommends $213,393 from taxation.
Move $213,393.
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 29, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 29. Article 30, to see what sum not to exceed $12,000 the town will vote to raise and appropriate for visitor center, Castine Merchants Association. The select board recommends $12,000 from taxation.
Move to approve $12,000 from taxation.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there discussion? Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 30 in the amount of $12,000, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 30. Article 31, to see what sum not to exceed $5,000 the town will raise and appropriate for Emerson Hall. The select board recommends $5,000 from taxation.
I move that we approve $5,000 for the Emerson Hall. Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 31, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 31. Article 32, to see what sum not to exceed $80,000 the town will raise and appropriate for harbor improvements. The select board recommends $80,000 from surplus.
Move to $80,000 for harbor improvement.
Is there discussion? Ms. Corbett?
I just have a question about whether or not we could take this all as a whole block or sections of it, no?
No money articles can be taken as a block. Once you get to the ones that are housekeeping, that don't get money involved, if you want to do a block there, you can do it there. But money articles have to be taken separately.
The point of order, didn't we vote to waive reading of each article? Are we required to read these in full?
If they're taken as a block, you can do that, but since you have to vote each article.
Got it. That was just for the table.
Right.
Understood.
Is there a motion? What? Is there discussion? All those in favor of Article 32, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 32. Article 33, to see what sum not to exceed $20,000 the town will raise and appropriate for hardware software, where the select board recommends $20,000 from taxation.
I move that we approve $20,000 for hardware software. Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 33, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 33. Article 34, to see what sum not to exceed $120,000 the town will raise and appropriate for roadway infrastructure improvements. Select board recommends $120,000 from taxation, $105,000 from state road assistance, $15,000.
Move 120,000. Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 34, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 34. Article 35, to see what sum not to exceed $10,000 the town will raise and appropriate for fire department capital account. The select board recommends $10,000 from taxation.
I move that we appropriate $10,000 for the fire capital account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 35, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 35. Article 36, to see what sum not to exceed $500 town will raise and appropriate for municipal building roofs. The select board recommends $500 from taxation.
So moved, $500 from taxation.
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 36, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 36. Article 37, to see what sum not to exceed $11,000 the town will raise and appropriate for fireworks capital account to be used to fund Castine's 4th of July fireworks display. The select board recommends $11,000 from taxation.
I move that we appropriate not to exceed $11,000 for fireworks capital account.
Is there a second? Is there a discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 37, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 37. Article 38, to see what sum not to exceed $5,000 the town will raise and appropriate for library building maintenance. The library trustees recommend $5,000 from the library investment fund.
Move 5,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 38, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 38. Article 39, to see what sum not to exceed $180,980 the town will raise and appropriate for library capital projects. The library trustees recommend $180,980 from the library investment fund.
I move we appropriate $180,900 from the library investment fund for Article 39.
Is there a second? Is there a discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 39, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voted by majority vote in favor of Article 39.
I would like to make a motion to consolidate Articles 40 through 49 into a single vote.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it has a dollar amount. Right here?
Yes, any article that has a dollar amount cannot be blocked. If anybody is interested in blocking, they can block when we get to them. Articles 49 through 57, I believe those are the ones that don't have any dollar amounts. The housekeeping articles. But each of these with a dollar amount we have to do separately.
Okay. Article 40, to see what sum not to exceed $2,000 the town will raise and appropriate for Fort George. The select board recommends $2,000 from taxation. There's a second. Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 40, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Excuse me, who made the motion on that? Read the name for the minutes. That was everyone.
Please state your name when you.
Did you get it?
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
All those in favor of Article 40?
They already voted that. They're all set.
Okay.
41.
All those in favor of Article 40? But no, on 40.
We already voted. They voted. I just need to know who had made it.
And so that was unanimous. Thank you. Article 41, to see what sum not to exceed $3,000 the town will raise and appropriate for streetlights LED. The select board recommends $3,000 from taxation.
Move $3,000. Second.
Could you please state your name?
License.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
Charles, my only question is, how many non-LED streetlights do we have left in town?
We don't, we,
So these are main.
I think when we originally converted over to the LEDs, we previously rented them. We previously had rented the streetlights for CMP and then we bought our LEDs. So I think it just has kept that name.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Is there, I think we're all set? Okay. All those in favor of Article 41, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 41. Article 42, to see what sum not to exceed $15,000 the town will raise and appropriate for public works / transfer station facility maintenance. The select board recommends $15,000 from taxation.
I so move the 15,000 for the transfer station. Charles Hutchins.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 42, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 42. Article 43, to see what sum not to exceed $2,000 will raise and appropriate for off-net cemetery maintenance. The select board recommends $2,000 from taxation.
Move 2,000. Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 43, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 43. Article 40, to see what sum not to exceed $4,000 the town will raise and appropriate for dock eatery building maintenance. The select board recommends $4,000. Dock eatery lease, $4,000.
Move $4,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 44, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town has voted unanimously in favor of Article 44. Article 45, to see what sum not to exceed $50,000 the town will raise and appropriate for sidewalk plowing equipment. The select board recommends $50,000 from taxation.
Vote $50,000. Second.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? Yes, Nick?
Mary Ann Lee, would you be more specific? That's a lot of money.
So this just pays for a sidewalk machine that's about 34 inches wide. Also, we'll have a broom, a spreader type of thing for aggregate or salt, V-plow, and a snow blower attachment. And then there's money in there, about $10,000 for a building to house it when it's not in use, in a slab underneath it.
Yes, ma'am?
I have another question. This fund,
Would you please state your name?
oh, Debbie Lumley, what streets or sidewalks are to be plowed where? Just to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, the select board, as we've been talking about this would be a new service that we recommend providing to the town. We had a public hearing about it during the winter months when this question was raised by some residents. And so our initial thoughts are that we would focus the services, because the public works crew are the individuals who would be providing this to us at this time, rather than contracting it out to another vendor. So what we're looking at is starting perhaps, let's say, from Adams School down and across Court Street to Main Street, and then doing the up and down both sides of Main Street so that we can address the commercial, more congested areas of town that hopefully will also alleviate the need for people to be walking in the streets during the winter months on what are traditionally our more trafficked roadways. That will be our initial approach to this one. I think the select board will be reviewing it and taking more feedback after one season. And so that's our approach at this time.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, sir?
Mark Borgioni, as someone that's often pushing a stroller around town in the winter with one or two other little ones walking on the side, it would be excellent to be able to walk on the sidewalk. I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Politano?
The walk's well enough. So let's anticipate the most, anticipation of that stats guys were saying. The properties just described here are approximately 18 properties. Divided by $50,000 is $3,800 per property that's going to benefit from this. Now, I'm thankful, one of them is my property. One of our properties on my own on Main Street. Now, I'm glad that it's time to come shovel. You know, we have about 10 shoveling events per year on our property. We get out there and as far as up and down Main Street, you're looking, you know, most of those properties, we take care of each other's property. We shovel, sometimes I shovel hanks, sometimes I scratch those lines, sometimes I go all the way down to the corner. So this is a lot of money for a very small amount of properties that will benefit from this study. Already doing this. I realize it's only $50,000, and you know, I'm the guy who's been up here and told you 8 cents for kids. Well, 8 cents for kids, that's a totally different thing. Investing in the future of our children versus something that we're not going out and shoveling. It's a totally different perspective, and I think it's responsible use of our money. It's not just $50,000. We're also looking at a normal piece of machinery like this requires 3 to 5% put aside for preventive maintenance and controls each year. Uptake of this machine. So it's going to be ongoing happening with this at $1,500 to $2,000 per year, in addition to incremental labor that would be required from an already taxed public works department that was already fully employed without this machine last year, and now we're going to ask them to do more. I just think it's premature to do something like this with such a small amount of properties that are kind of always prepared themselves with a couple of little exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. If I could just share some of the thoughts. When we had our public hearing, we did have opinions on both sides of this issue. The question really at hand was, do we put this responsibility on the property owners who have sidewalks in town, or is it a town service that we decide to offer to our residents? It's certainly difficult to enforce owners, you know, to clear their sidewalks. That was discussed at the public hearings. What we heard as select board members during the hearing was that the option of owner responsibility was not as favored, and that the idea of having this be a town service was something that they might consider. So we're putting it to you as a recommendation, certainly for you to decide. But I would also add that we have a comprehensive plan that was just put to the voters in November that was approved. There are desires to have Castine be a more thriving year-round community, and the select board, I think I can speak for all of us, we recommend this because we believe that this is a move in that direction to be supportive of Castine's future opportunities, to be supportive of the comprehensive plan, to try to do what we can to make Castine a more economically viable year-round thriving community. We also see this as an extension of the public service that we offer through snow plowing services on the streets, to provide that to the sidewalks, and that is really where this has come from, but it was brought to us by residents who had safety concerns this winter, where, especially going up and down Main Street, many of the sidewalks were not cleared, and it was forcing people into the streets.
Especially with the year we've got.
Johanna?
Especially years when we have a lot of snow like this past year, it was really a dangerous situation. And, you know, we had the majority of people who came to the public hearings supporting that the town provide this service. And I think it's a safety issue for the town. As Amy said, it will encourage other businesses to come to town if they see the town as well maintained. And we're looking at it as a future, as a service that's critical to the town.
Ms. Barrett. I'm speaking as a parent and also as the only business owner on that side of the street that is open year-round. This winter, we had 3 people fall on Lower Main Street, not because the space in front of 3 Main Street was not shoveled or plowed, but because that snow was moved into the road and the parts above that my part of Main Street were not shoveled. Having clear, accessible sidewalks for everybody is part of our public responsibility to everybody who lives in Castine and uses the community. It's not just Main Street, it's all of our other sidewalk infrastructure. Speaking as a parent, it happened several years ago that my son was walking to the Adams School, which is a lovely thing we should be able to do here. The sidewalks were not plowed, he was walking in the street and was almost hit by a car. So it is in our best interest to protect everybody who lives in this town and to invest a very small sum of money in equipment that will ensure that that happens. The enforcement mechanism, if you have an ordinance that requires owners to do this, is going to be more expensive than buying a piece of equipment because you're chasing people down, and if you don't make that penalty more expensive than the cost of shoveling, people are just going to say, great, send me the bill, and not shovel, and we're back to square one. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Ross.
Peggy Ross. I just want to look at it from a different angle, and my thought is, what would it cost to bring in a private planner to do the service instead of us buying the whole thing and doing the rest?
I think that was from the other microphone. No, it has not been looked at, but I, in my past experience in another community, Naples, Maine, we looked at doing about a similar amount of snow clearing for our sidewalks, and it was around $80,000 for them to come in and do that service. And now I think they do it for something like $30,000 or $40,000 maybe, but they do it only in a small area. Per season, right.
Well, I think we need to look at the cost for our exact community and the fact that we are getting less snow and stuff like that. So I think we need an estimate of what it would cost for someone to come in and do it.
Locally. Yes, ma'am. Just a very quick question that's sort of germane. Is it something that the select board can put to discuss? There is a part on Main Street where there is no sidewalk. Has there been any thought of putting a sidewalk at that place where the sidewalk is? Across from the post office in front of the house that has no sidewalk. Okay.
We believe that's private property, the part of Main Street that doesn't have the sidewalk, but we're certainly going to look into it.
Okay.
Zach Sawyer, just have a clarifying question.
Zach, come up here, please.
I just have a clarifying question. Who owns the liability on the sidewalks? Is that the municipality or business owner, property owner that has that piece of sidewalk?
I guess I can only answer it says that would depend, on whatever
Okay, on
the
the
maintenance are.
18 properties that we're discussing.
Well, anybody can file a suit against the community for it, whether or not, that's considered part of the road or not the road, whether it's a defect or not. That is a question for the courts, and I wouldn't venture to say one way or the other. If you don't do any maintenance, a lot of times you have no liability. As soon as you start maintaining, you sometimes have liability. But we have no liability for slip and falls for the community. So then they would file a suit against either the business owner and the town and let the courts decide, but I believe it would be thrown out from the municipal.
The reason I ask this question is because we're talking about cost comparison. We're looking at the cost of having somebody shovel it versus bringing in another company to do it privately. We should look at what it would cost the town if something were to happen in these places. If that's the cost benefit ratio. If it costs more in litigation for us to do this than a $50,000 machine would to eliminate that litigation, we should buy the machine.
Mr. Napolitano?
Sir, a little clarification, the $80,000 that you stated for your other town in Dublin, how many properties and length was that? Because we're talking about 18 properties at approximately a third of the lot.
So that, ironically, Tony, was, I would say, 0 properties. Did it really pass? It's on the other side of the road on the causeway at Naples. So the only properties right basically in that stretch until the bridge was actually the water. And that was part of the problem, was the snow drifting off the lake there. And part of that was also having to periodically remove the snow when it got too high. On the other side of the street, there were sidewalks, but all the businesses were closed except for the credit union during the off season. So we wouldn't have done that. In fact, I don't even recall if we had built the sidewalk on that side back when we got that initial thing, but I know now they're only maintaining the sidewalks on the river side, on the Long Lake side.
So it's safe to say that $80,000 is not comparative to what we have here, and we really don't know what it would cost for doing that.
Yeah, it really depends. I don't know if somebody would do it on a per storm basis, or if they would do it, like a plow contract where you roll the dice and you guess there's going to be 7 or 8 events and you may need to remove the excess snow on a few different occasions. That is something that is always a challenge, is on a heavy snow winter, you also need to start moving some of the snow out of those areas, especially if you're running out of parking spots later.
This little clarification on 18 of those 18, 3 of those are government properties. Only 15 of those are private properties. I'd like to make a motion for this to be a written ballot, please.
Mr. Napolitano has called, would like to get it done by written ballot. All those in favor of written ballot, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Okay. Hand vote, please. Staff, we're going to do a hand vote. Okay, we're going to do a hand vote, so all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those in
Favor of a written ballot.
having a written ballot.
For no written ballot.
Hands for no written ballot.
Yes.
Oh, wait, got that.
Oh, you, I got it.
54 to 30. 30, yes, 54, no.
5-4 for no. 30.
Comment. I have the totals. 30 yes, 54 no for written ballot.
Point of clarification, just curious, can this issue be tabled until we can have more comprehensive numbers to compare and contrast, or do we have to vote yea or nay because it's in the warrant?
You could move to withdraw the question.
Okay.
My suggestion would be is if you want to do that, turn it down, because otherwise we're going to have to schedule another town meeting. So turn it down until the answers, and then they come back with it again, or it comes back in November.
Right. If you don't mind, I have one more question for the select board. Is this, as I understand it, this is a one-off cost for equipment? So if we're comparing a annual cost of paying for this versus equipment, let's say this piece of equipment lasts 10 years, you're doing the additional 3%, so call it an additional $1,500 a year. We're actually looking at $6,500 a year versus what I assume would be much higher if the town pays every single year for a third-party contract. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the view of the select board that this would be cheaper. Is it the select board's view that this would be cheaper versus paying a third-party contractor on an annual basis?
After the informational hearings we had, we looked at all the factors, and we felt this was the best direction for the town to move in.
Thank you.
Are there any more, is there any more discussion? We're getting no more, hang on.
I'm Bill Eisenhart, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. We've been talking about this off and on in select board and town manager for a decade. This isn't something that's new. The previous town manager has looked at private use of contractors. And the response was, it's off the hip year in, year out. I walk the street, get it, you do it. It's not just 18 or 16 properties. Many of them go to the school, to the library, to the town office, to the shops. This is just 18 properties, 18 properties that are impacted by this. And in general, in the years that I've walked, if you go to Court Street on the sidewalk, it is not plowed until you get to the post office. After the post office, it is not plowed until you get down to the back road. And then it's often plowed, usually by the people who don't shovel. And you have to walk in the street. And after we built all these wonderful sidewalks, and the arguments about regionalization, how should it look, how wide the sidewalk is. Why are you walking in the street? You say, listen. Why do we want to say something? It goes, my wife and I both fall on the sidewalk. Yeah, this is one year. I just think it's a small price to pay, all the same. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 45, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. The town has voted by majority vote in favor of Article 45. Article 46, to see what sum not to exceed 15,000. The town will raise and appropriate for dry hydrant on the shore road The select board recommends 15,000 from taxation.
Move 15,000. Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 46, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voted unanimously in favor of Article 46. Article 47, to see what sum, not to exceed $10,000, the town will raise and appropriate for traffic calming. The select board recommends 10,000 from the taxation.
I so move that we, select, that we raise, an amount not to exceed $15,000, sorry, $10,000 for the traffic calming.
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, ma'am.
What is this?
You have to say your name. Emma Sweet.
Emma Sweet, please.
Sure.
We, after the latest, we've had a series of complaints about people driving fast and unsafely in town. And we contacted the DOT, the state of Maine DOT, and they came to us and talked about the way to deal with the road safety is a process that they call traffic calming. And there's a whole series of small things we could do to encourage people to drive safely. One of which is, and when you leave here today, we're going to have this slogan, the things we're going to vote on. So the idea is that we're going to hire consultants, we're going to have traffic safety be a very strong initiative from the select board. And we need money to do some of the things that we'd like to do. We're not sure what that's going to be yet because we're going to hire a consultant to help us make those decisions. So traffic calming is a philosophy of how do we deal with traffic safety in town. Especially, we are the only university town in the state of Maine that does not have police force. So we have to do things that other towns don't have to do because we don't have a police force to enforce the rules.
So the first thing that the select board is looking to do, we have one of those machines that sits on the side of the road and says, this, the speed limit is 25, your speed is. We don't necessarily want to flash up people's speeds because we don't want anybody to try to go higher or play a game. But we're going to be putting that out. We've purchased a trailer so that we can move that around town to different areas and we can gather data. And we can find out where do we have an issue, where don't we have an issue, or do we have a really bad issue, right? We need to gather some data first. And then once we gather that data, then we'll be discussing, okay, what are the best things to do? There were many things thrown out to us by the DOT. They said we could do more striping on the roads, that might actually help to keep people focused on being on their side of the road. We've talked about maybe little, not speed bumps, but tables, speed tables to kind of slow on maybe Battle Avenue. But we need to figure out first where, and then we can discuss what. So this is just to get us started with the data gathering and figure out. Does that help?
Yes, sir?
Yeah, I think that's a good question.
Could you state your name, please?
Involving MMA, perhaps requirements you have refused your orientation, get the lowdown.
President Johnson, we meet with President Johnson once a month, and traffic calming is something that we have brought up repeatedly, and he has expressed his full support to work with the town to deal with it. In fact, the MMA, I haven't seen all of the initiatives they've done, but an MMA, they've already started, talking about traffic safety in town. And as a result of the accidents there's a group of students that have started a shuttle service so that students don't drive to Bangor and Bucksport on the weekends, and there's a shuttle that takes them back and forth. So MMA is fully behind creating a safer environment in town.
Can I add one thing as well? And thank you for your question. I would just add as well, our approach as a select board to exploring this, this topic and traffic calming and what, if we, to determine if we have a problem where it is and how can we work to resolve it, is a community-based approach, as far as the three of us and Derek, and all three of you with us too, as opposed to a town and an MMA issue. Right, because we are all driving on the streets, and so we want this to, we believe it's a town community issue, and we should all be together in it, so we're very glad to have the support of President Johnson through our discussions, but that's how we're approaching it as a community-wide discussion and approach.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 47, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Did I hear a nay?
No.
The town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 47. You did vote no? All right, so sorry. It's a majority. Article 48, to see what sum, not to exceed $15,000, town will raise and appropriate for Battle Avenue lot PFAS testing in the amount of $15,000 from taxation.
Move to approve $15,000 for PFAS testing.
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes, ma'am?
A question, there's already been testing done for PFAS there, correct? Is this ongoing testing, or is this another test to reaffirm the previous test? I just want clarification on why there is another test.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So when they did test, there's, I think, 6 monitoring wells or test wells that they did around the Battle Ave lot. And on one of them in the northeast corner, actually showed a PFAS hit. So in those results, they said that we could investigate where that is coming from. Of course, there's actually been another PFAS contaminated well uphill from there too, so it actually means that, you know, we're curious, hey, where is this coming from? You know, what is the source? Whether or not that can be identified or not, is another thing. That's part of what the study will do, but so it will be a retest because sometimes it's a contaminated test either from the tester or the test kit, and then it would be an investigation to see if they can't determine that if it gets another hit, where that may be coming from and what that source is.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Yes, sir?
This is Josh Adams, just clarify this in the select board recommendation.
Select board does recommend $10,000. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry, I was on the
Do you want to?
Josh, thank you for that. We all agree that's a typo, we're all in support of this, so we're happy. Yeah, we definitely, we think this is a good thing to explore.
Actually,
And Karen, are we allowed to?
you, when we were meeting in our budget meetings, I think you said that you felt that that was something that the town needed to decide. You opted not to put a recommendation on it.
Thank you, I forgot about that, so I just, hope I haven't biased you all, but that's where the three of us, I think, stand.
All right, now you're
You
recommending
may
it.
personally want it.
I will personally recommend it.
You may personally want it, but you said that you felt that this is something the town ought to decide whether they wanted to spend the money or not.
Thank you very much for that reminder. All right, I'll speak for myself.
Would you repeat that? Karen, we can't hear you.
Karen, take this.
Uh-oh.
Somebody hit the switch.
Bill Eisenhower. So when they met in budget sessions, the the select board decided that this should be something the town decided, so they did not put a recommendation one way or the other on it. Yes, ma'am?
Christine Spratt, my question is, what are we gonna do with the information if we find that there are PFAS at that site?
I mean, I think we have to deal with this one step at a time. I think if it is positive, we will speak to our professionals that manage the water system, and we will deal with the appropriate services to find a solution. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I think it's important to get the information first, and then we can react appropriately to the information once we have it. I mean, PFAS is a huge problem across the whole state. And so I am confident there will be, resources for us in the event that there's a problem that we don't know about.
Ms. Corbett, I'd like to call the question.
Second.
All those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The question has been called. All those in favor of Article 48, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 48. Okay, so Articles 49 to 57 can be voted as a block.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question before we get to the block.
Okay?
Hi, Lacey. The question is, on the top of 20, we have a list of capital projects, but it doesn't have a question number, so I don't know how to ask the question of the budget change to that sort of recreation area.
You just actually, there is none left this year. I mean, we went through all of the capitals. We just, each of the capital projects went through there, but yes, I would say that probably one of them can ask the question, why didn't you budget anything for the actual recreation? Do you want me to answer? I think if you look in your town report, in the audit, you will see the capital project amounts, and there's actually a fair amount of money that is down there, and it hasn't been spent, so they felt this year they didn't need to put $6,800 back in there because there's a fair amount of money in the balance.
Page 132.
Mr. Stearns.
You have like 34,000 in there.
$32,517.
To maintain that and maintain the pool, like what you have that money in there, you got in the next one, $70,000 to fix up the pool. To be able to maintain that and keep that maintained. So that's why you're building up each year. That's what that money is for. So I think we missed something.
And actually, there's 36,517 in there from last year's appropriation. Right, yeah.
So we're gonna let the maintenance of the pool go downhill?
There's money in the account.
We need 50,000 for the job.
Randy, I'm sorry, can you come forward?
Can you come forward, Randy? We can't hear you.
Because we can't hear what you're asking. And can't hear me? I'm very sorry. Randy, could you help us hear you better? Can't hear your questions. Thank you.
My question is, what are you gonna do? I can't hear you.
back to a swimming pool. We put in from the hatch fund $70,000 and they gave us to fix it up. We spent 53. We've also appropriated each year 6,000 something to keep maintaining, to build it up for a period of time. So we're gonna have to do the pond again. So you're cutting that out, what I would understand.
I would say that we prioritize certain expenses this year. It doesn't mean it's going away forever. It's just that we were trying to, So it is cut out this year, but it doesn't mean that it won't come back in another year. When we were doing the budget, we were trying to prioritize the needs that we have now. And then, we can shift money around for later on for other expenses. So we have some one-time expenses in some of our lists, like the dry hydrant, sidewalk plowing machine, PFAS testing from Battle Labs. So next year, those won't be in the budget anymore. So then we can shift those dollars to other places, get us back on track.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of,
That wasn't an article to vote on. That was not an article to vote on, that was a question why there is zero in that.
so now we're.
Yes, there's a motion, that's right, there's a motion for second to block.
Yes, ma'am.
On number 50, about foreclosed, do you have is there a number of how many foreclosed properties the town currently has liens on or owns?
I don't think we have a motion in a second yet on the block. We went right to that question. I didn't hear a motion or a second. I don't have a motion in a second. I have called the question.
All right, we need a motion and a second to do the block vote.
I so move that we block up 49 through 57.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. All right, sounds very unanimous.
No, sorry, point of order, we voted to block these. There should still be room for town discussion and questions.
And then, do the voters want to forego the reading of all of those articles?
Yes.
If so, somebody should make a motion to that effect.
Okay, is there a motion to
I
forego
move
reading?
that we forego the reading of Articles 49 to 57.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Is there an aye?
All those opposed?
Now discussion on any of those articles.
Okay. So, is there a discussion?
I'm just curious, does the town have foreclosed properties that are currently owned or has a lien on, or is this just something that we want to have that as when the time comes?
This is one of the. This is one of the housekeeping articles we always have to do. I've been here for about 30 years, we have not foreclosed on a property.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Okay, Article 58, to see if the town. Okay. All those in favor of the block, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voted unanimously for the block vote. Article 58, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept and expend grants in any amount from any agency to the town of Castine, provided that matching funds from the town do not exceed $20,000 and are available in the current budget.
Second.
There's a second. Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 58, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The town is voted unanimously in favor of Article 58. Article 59, to see if the town will authorize the select board to negotiate and enter into a residential lease for the lighthouse keeper's house, premises for a term not to exceed 3 years from the expiration of the current lease on June 30, 2025.
So,
We block these?
Now they have a
Does that money?
so moved.
No money, yeah, 6-3.
I think we need to have discussion.
Yes, a discussion, I moved it, so can we discuss this particular one?
Ms. Sheila?
Yeah.
Stan?
Am I speaking to Article 58?
Yes.
Lighthouse?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hold the microphone up.
you'll be able to hear me, okay? Be patient. So decades ago, we had a conversation in this room about an agency, an organization that buys lighthouses, rents them out, and maintains them. And I think it would have been on the tax rolls. Has the selectmen considered that option, to actually sell the property, have somebody else maintain it, and have all the tourism here, and not have to lose taxes?
We have not discussed that. All of this warrant is simply written because the lease is up, and we need the town's approval to renew a lease. Okay, that's all this warrant does. But I do want to speak to, very briefly, to the article that was in the Bangor News this week about that there was some talk that we were going to turn this into an Airbnb. We have never, on the select board, discussed it. I have no idea where that information came from. In our next work session, I feel we want to bring up writing a letter to the Bangor News correcting the record, because that was never discussed. It has never been since we haven't discussed it, we haven't discussed it. So, maybe the town would vote at some point to do that, but we certainly don't want to, haven't discussed it and aren't moving in that direction right now. But we just need to clarify that.
Yes, sir?
Is it the town's intention to renew the current tenant's lease if this passes? I would hope so.
We have not discussed that yet. We will be discussing it at our work session on Monday, once we know what the town wants to do. If the town wants us to go ahead and renew it, or have it.
We have to do it step by step.
Yeah, step by step.
Will there be some discussion of that before the select board votes?
Yep. So based on the vote here today, we will discuss, the lease on Monday at work session.
Once we're given the authority.
If we're given the authority by the town to do a lease, and then we will discuss the lease, and then on the 16th of June, it would be on the select board agenda for a vote, because we can't vote at a work session, so we can just discuss.
Yes, ma'am?
Are there other potential lessees in line, or is it going to be first right of refusal for the current tenant?
I don't think the way the lease is written, and I'm not an attorney, I don't believe the way the lease is written currently, that Tracy would have the first right of refusal. We will speak to the town attorney. We will be very transparent about the process, and we'll be transparent about how we get there. And we certainly will invite, input from the town as we're making a decision.
If I can follow up with that, and I'm not, again, don't think there's making accusations, somewhere, the information was in that article came from something, and you're saying it didn't come from you, and I don't think that it just came out of thin air, so I'm wondering if the select board could maybe briefly discuss some of the concerns that I think are rippling through the community.
So as everybody in this room knows, every member of the select board gets pulled aside multiple times every day and given ideas and suggestions and input. And yes, we have heard some of those things. We have never had a conversation about any of those things as a select board. And so that's what's happened is those things have been suggested to different members of the select board. We've not discussed them, and obviously, the Bangor Daily News heard some of those suggestions that have been floating around town, and they picked up on that and decided that it would be, I guess, a good story to do.
Yes, sir?
What happens if this is voted down? Is it A, that the lighthouse would just be empty after the current term expires, or B, would the current lease automatically extend?
One thing, I would say you can do a 1-year lease, that you wouldn't be able to do a 3-year lease.
No, if this article is turned down, then that means this lease expires the end of June. Current tenant would need to be out, and the lighthouse would sit empty until the town reconvenes a town meeting with some options of what they want to do.
Yes, ma'am?
Could you just come up, please? Thank you, Leah.
Hi, everybody. I just want to voice my support for passing the article the way it's written so that we can continue moving on and not have the alternate process unfold, which seems a lot messier. So, support.
Mary?
You see it.
I have a question about the U.S. Coast Guard necessity or non-necessity of closing down a lot of our navigational guides, including lighthouses. Now, are we, as the current lighthouse owner, under any obligation or are there requirements that have to be maintained either by the town or by some Airbnb outfit that has to be maintained? My understanding is that after the virtual demolition of the new lighthouse down on the rocks, our old lighthouse, which is now being updated, was decommissioned as a navigation aid. Do you have any information on whether that would be a standard?
If everybody remembers, the Coast Guard put the light back up in the tower. The Coast Guard actually maintains that. That is, the light, we're responsible for the tower to maintain that. We've done that before, but they actually maintain the light itself. So they go there on a fairly regular basis.
Can I call the question, please? Second.
There's been a motion to call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so the question has been called. All those in favor of Article 59, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 59. Article 60, shall the proposed amendments to the June 2nd, 2018 Castine rental housing ordinance be enacted? Copies of the proposed ordinance are available from the town clerk as provided in Title 30A MRSA, Section 3002, Paren 1. The select board recommends enactment of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Is there a question? Hang on a second.
Okay, I call your attention to the, last page of the ordinance, basic safety guidelines for towns. I am proposing that, amendment made to take this out of this. Because personally, do not comply with Main Street law. I think it would be cleaner if this instead said that Main Street law would be removed. So, just by illustration, you part on smoke detectors and that units does not comply with the laws within the state. The new state regulations say that for a rental unit, the landlord needs to follow 10 years to tamper with its battery powered smoke detector if it is a single family dwelling, that it's actually said in here. So I think it would be cleaner if the language just referred to state regulations so that every time state regulations change, this would not have to change. So I propose an amendment that we take out the basic safety guidelines and let the town come up with guidelines that adhere to state regulations.
So you can't amend an ordinance that's been presented as a public hearing process and it's approved as it is. In this, so that language would stay regardless.
Part of the application.
Right.
That's part of the application.
Oh, so she's talking about the application part of
The
it.
application, I think, the application can be amended, but the ordinance itself, we can revise the application
Okay.
to be in compliance with state regulations.
Okay.
That's part of the application.
So long as it's just the application.
Right, she's talking about this, the final pages,
Yes, yeah.
basic safety
Yeah,
guidelines.
that's part of the application. So that could be done.
Should have to put it in the form of a motion though to amend the
No,
application.
the application is something the select
We
board.
can just change it.
The select board can change the application.
Right,
So
all right.
can I actually hear what you're saying, please?
So she said, that- so it's the application can be altered and changed, and that's what you're reading from. The ordinance itself is the pages that precede that application, that set in the standard. And all this does is set fees, so when you register your rental, that then the land use provisions, noise conditions, and other ordinance provisions in the town can be enforced upon the rental units. The other standards of what you need to do to convert your house to an apartment or anything like that is all state law already. So those things just put on there as part of the application that we can pull off whatever it needs to be. So I encourage you to go to a select board meeting and ask them if those things could be removed from there. I didn't exactly hear everything you said about that it was not consistent with state law, all the points.
So, right,
Somebody identify the issue for,
I'm sorry, what?
we can't hear.
Right.
What is the issue?
The issue is that on the last page, the basic safety guidelines, in part, do not align with state law.
What is the big,
She's talking about the basic safety guidelines that are on that back page and saying there's some things listed there that aren't consistent with state law.
And that is something that the select board, that's part of the application, so that is something that the select board can change. After, like, so if you pass the warrant, to agree to the new rental housing ordinance, the select board can then make that change to the application and take out that page and
make sure that the current regulations are always followed.
We can do this next, next cycle.
I am trying to comply with regulations, as long as I comply with state regulations, I will.
Thanks, Laura.
Yes, sir. Mr. Slocum?
Joe Slogan. Where in this ordinance is defined?
Just take a Joe.
Where in this ordinance does it say that an owner has to have a property manager? Property manager.
A property manager?
Where does it say you have to have a property manager?
I don't think it does.
And the application for this property manager is required.
If they have a property manager.
And so it's not mandated.
No.
Does the town attorney see this according to the court?
Yeah, Sean sent this out.
Yes.
The town attorney,
Yeah.
tenant's right, what's in the tenant's right?
The tenant's rights package is put out by the state. We didn't make copies because it's like a 79-page document. But that's what it refers to, and, Sue, do we have a link on the town website yet?
We can.
But we can put a link to that on the town website.
The safety guidelines, are they for informational purposes or the requirements?
I didn't hear Joe.
Safety guidelines?
The safety guidelines, are they suggestions or are they requirements of the ordinance? Does somebody have to follow all those safety? If they have any resolution?
Those are all state laws, those are all state law provisions, so that's where they're in there. So we don't, that's the whole point, is that right now, we don't inspect these places because we have nothing to do with it. But anything we need to do to the house, like we had somebody home against us, because I'll have to put windows of a certain size in my house before I can rent it. You'd have to anyways. This doesn't enforce those provisions that are found in state codes and laws.
Actually, this reconstructing state law, we are exactly, we are creating town to regulate. And we think we will.
Right, this is to get the registry so that there are certain provisions of our own local ordinances that we can enforce for whether it's an Airbnb or a regular rental apartment. And so, let's say we're getting a number of noise complaints and everything, we know who to contact also on, on problem rentals.
So we say that everybody has a rental property, must have a property manager.
No, you just need to register it, and pay the fee on an annual basis. That's the only change. This ordinance is the same ordinance that was approved in 2018. And the only change is on number 5, where it talks about rental housing license fees.
So under the definitions of local contract, this is the definition that's not required. You have somebody available for 24 hours if you have a rental.
Well, you will have somebody available. That's why we'll have the phone numbers when they register, so that we have a way of contacting those people in an emergency.
The ordinance this ordinance says you have to personally show up and be on the property for 24 hours or less.
Okay. That's, like I said, Joe, that's been in there since 2018.
No, it's not on there.
Because that's where you're reading it.
Reading the draft ordinance.
What page is it reading?
Right here, page 2.
I just have a hard time reading this and understanding what the requirements are. What we're trying to make standards, we're standing some from other property owner knows what they're getting into before they get there. They have to have a property management, which will be on site in 24 hours, 365 days a year, one another. I don't think that's what this says, particularly when there's words like guidelines and you have regulations under the definition sections. The regulations of the code. I just think this is poorly written, really should be used for
Point of order.
It's gotta continue to be poorly written because voting it down votes down the changes. So the ordinance will be in place regardless, so we'll have to work on that.
We can
For future time.
Not just what that.
You have a point of order here, you have to.
So,
Sorry, because we have to wait for the point of order.
I just wanted to clarify, the only thing we're really voting on is the language change under the fees.
Yes.
So everything else, or pre-approved.
Exactly.
Times past, all we're doing is modifying the fees.
Exactly.
End of story. Whatever is illegible or wrong with this is to be corrected another time. We're just changing the fees.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Move to call the question.
I have another question.
You have to entertain this. Sorry, you have to entertain a subsidiary motion. To call the question. It's not a discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see
I'm curious because this town has a turnover of houses and there are more and more Airbnb rentals in this town, and I live on a road where it's very rented. I just want to ask the town, do you have a handle on how many people's houses are rental and are they filling out the application and paying the fees?
No, that's one of the reasons for this, for the registration of fees, so that we can have that. And so we can identify where the rentals are, whether they're Airbnb or long-term rentals.
But if they don't fill out the application, they get the tax bill, not know. And that's my concern.
Well, we can visit them and say, okay, somebody calls and says, oh, we think this is a rental, then the code enforcement officer can certainly go to those places and question them whether or not they are a rental or not. Right, right, enforceability.
This creates more enforceability for that question, so that we will know.
I'm just trying to find a way to provide some housing. In many states, they follow it, and or working on a house to try to enter the summer. This ordinance is completely different from what's currently in effect.
This ordinance is completely different from what is currently in effect. Currently, it's just you send a notice to the town of a listing with the name of the people who are in charge and who the caretakers are. This document is not related to that. This is a completely new structure whereby the town creates a licensing program, and every property owner should be aware of this, and maybe you are, but you really need to read this because I second everything Joe said. It's just carefully written. It can be fixed up. I'll be happy to add some language to it. Joe and I are both lawyers, and I've been real estate lawyers for many years. But it requires a permit and start doing stuff. This is for obligations to liability under this ordinance. In fact, we're obligated for violation of the ordinance caused by the tenant. That's what this ordinance says. So if you have big private properties, personal, if you have any real estate that you might ever want to live in, you want to look at this because this takes away your rights. It takes away your property rights without any compensation. That's unconstitutional.
This the only change that we have made is line number, Derek.
Article 5, fees, section 2, rental housing license fees. And it actually, fees will be assessed for rental activity on a per lot basis. As an example, if a single family resident and accessory dwelling unit located on a single lot, will rent it as long-term rentals, the fee for the lot will be $100 as shown below. B, the annual fee for a long-term rental license, $100. C, the annual fee for a short-term rental license is $200. D, the annual fee for a property license is both short and long-term rental is $300. That is the only changes. If you go to the town website, this ordinance is listed without those things in it from approval of the town back on June 2nd, 2018. So the only changes are the fees. Everything else is already in the ordinance and on the books.
That is absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, I have it up on my phone. The ordinance is up there on the phone, word for word.
I looked at it all myself. We've been going back and forth on this for a couple of weeks now.
Which section are you talking about that isn't already on the books?
The whole concept of, no, don't get me wrong, but I'll read it to you. I don't have it marked up here, but the ordinance creates a licensing program. And the fact that the rental property is registered with the town should not be construed to mean that the town has made a final determination that the property is suited to habitation or that it complies with any codes, ordinance, statutes, or regulations. Renters are advised to make their own inspections prior to taking occupancy and are responsible that a property is fit for habitation, complies with codes, ordinance, statutes, regulations, and is the property owner. This department is now intended to provide a framework for better regulating local activity and help property owners who choose to rent their property. Nothing else to create a cause or action claim against the town. So that's, most of that is new language. From what I was able to find, anywhere I looked, anyone I asked help to get the final language. So,
Sorry, it's on their website. Okay.
No, that's not what we're doing. That's it.
On the website are the same except for the fees.
No,
it's the same. It's not the same. When you propose it, you don't show what's changed. It doesn't show that. Everything I've read is written.
So what do we do?
well, it does have some changes.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so, Pete,
What do I get to do next?
no, I appreciate you bringing this up. So it was our understanding that the only thing we were voting on today were the fees, the associated fees. So if you would like to see other changes made to the ordinance, which sounds like you would, then I think a conversation with the CEO or come to the next select board meeting and discuss it with the select board at that meeting. And then we can take that under advisement. We can work with you and take your ideas, and with anybody in the town and take your ideas, and we can look at reconfiguring or rewriting the ordinance in plainer terms. And then we can bring it to another town vote. The town would have to vote on the changes to that ordinance, but we can do that.
Okay, I'll do everything that you suggest, after we get board off, but I don't think anyone should look at this. They should turn this down and let us do this work, and come back to you with something where every property owner knows that they're obligated to do, and what burdens that the town is putting on you, and your real costs. And what rights they're taking away.
I'm on the website, download the existing ordinance, it's 3 pages long. The one you're presenting today is 6 pages.
Yeah, right. As much as it's yeah. Yeah. Right. It's just that, right, it's there. So, yeah, I don't have. I unfortunately don't have all the details. I remember when we went over this, there was the fee in the registry that's graded, but there is some extra language in this ordinance, so they're both correct. All the particulars, I'm not sure. So it's not ready for prime time. Unfortunately, code enforcement officer is not here right now to explain all of the smaller details.
I call that we table it for another day.
Excuse me, turn it down,
Absolutely.
turn it down. It's cleaner to turn it down.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. What?
Jim Rossi? Susan Chris.
Can you come up front? Can you come up front so we can hear you? Look how fast he's going.
Jim Rossi? Seems that there's confusion based on simple common sense and discrepancies. I recommend we vote this down until we can have the issue clarified.
Yeah, I second that.
Call the motion.
Second.
Okay. So all those in favor of tabling this, no, all the questions, all those in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
All those opposed? Town voted unanimously to call the question. Now you're voting.
So there's a motion to approve the article is written, so if people are opposed to it, they want to vote no.
All those in favor of the article, please signify by saying aye.
Point of order. So when I requested to have it tabled,
We can't do that.
you can't do that. Okay, I was not aware, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of this meeting, all business ends, so it's like we would vote it down, I guess.
Okay, vote it down.
All those in favor of Article 60, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, Article 61, shall propose amendments to incorporate PL 201 2021 672 LD 2003 to the November 3, 2015 Castine Water Service Protection Ordinance be enacted. Note, copies of proposed amendments to the ordinance are available from the town clerk as provided. The planning board and select board recommend enactment.
I so move.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? All those, being no discussion, we will now vote on Article 61. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 61. Article 62, shall the proposed amendments to incorporate PL 2021, Section 672, LD 2003 to the April 4th, 2009 sewer system ordinance of the town of Castine be enacted. Copies are available. And the planning board and the select board recommend amendment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 62, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 62. Article 63, shall propose amendments to the June 1, 2013 ordinance entitled zoning ordinance of Maine, Castine, Maine be enacted. Copies are available. Planning board and select board recommend enactment.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? Being no discussion, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of Article 63, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Town is voting unanimously in favor of Article 63. It's been my honor to serve you as moderator of this town meeting, and I thank you for your kind attention and understanding. There being no further business to come before this meeting, do I have a motion and second to adjourn this meeting?
So moved. Second. Heard it. I would like to say thank you to the select board for all the contributions you did. Outlining all the articles and what they mean, and what they up and down, Terry would help you all. And you too, Sue.
Well, actually, all of us in favor of terminating this meeting.